Welcome back to the Espresso Unicorn podcast, where bold voices, unfiltered truths, and unapologetic authenticity come together to spark change, elevate stories, and brew up something revolutionary. Today, we're honored to welcome a powerhouse of purpose, poetry, and passion. Her name is Dez Nicole, an acclaimed spoken word artist, holistic wellness coach, and community advocate. Dez Nicole, also known as Desiree Nicole Davenport, is a force for healing and transformation. And as the founder of Heart Over Hue, she uses a spiritual lens to comfort racism and empower communities, from leading campus dialogues on racial reconciliation to captivating audiences with her verses from her book, Black Girl, Black Ink. Dez weaves art, activism, and ancestral wisdom into every aspect of her work. With a background in ministerial leadership, social work, and the stage, having opened for artists such as Jules Santana, Dez brings a rare depth of insight to conversations on identity, justice, wellness, and environmental sustainability. Whether she's coaching clients on holistic living or speaking truth through the mic, Dez is here to disrupt cycles and inspire liberation. So grab your cup, settle in, and get ready. This is just not a conversation, it's a calling. So, Dez, welcome to the podcast. I'll give you a little bit of time to introduce yourself to the Espresso Unicorn family. And then from there, let's get into some talk.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. It's definitely an honor and a privilege. My cousin Brian has been talking about this for weeks. And again, I'm just honored whenever somebody finds me worthy of being in their space, on their microphones. Like, I don't take that lightly at all. I do believe that I have a gift of speaking. So whenever I get to use my gifts, it's always a blessing and a privilege to me. So thank you. The the introduction you gave was pretty fire. I think you it's pretty straightforward. I am who I am. Again, I go by Dez Nicole. Sometimes I do go by Indigo Ray. I'll get in a little bit into that as well. And names are important to me. I believe that our names in which we're given has to do with our purpose and our mission. So Desiree means desired one. Nicole means victory of the people. I definitely believe that my purpose here on earth is to encourage and inspire others to enjoy this experience called life. Life has its ups, its downs, depending on how you want to look at it. And I do believe that there is purpose in each turn that we take when it comes to life. Everything, if you look at it from different kind of angles, can teach you something. And I believe that through my art, through what I get to do, is just a reminder and a reflection to others to continue living breath by breath with intentions.
Man, that's awesome. So, Dez, I know we talked earlier, and I want to get into your history. And that's what I do. I'm a history professor, so I love talking about history. So I want to know about your upbringing. I want to know about where you're from, and I also want to know, how did you get to this person that you are now?
Oh, great question. So the basic things, you know what I mean, as far as like where I'm from, all of that. I am from Tampa, Florida. I'm a Tampa native. I love my city, Tampa, as well as I also grew up in South Carolina. So my roots are from South Carolina, deep South. And it's kind of funny, before my grandmother passed away, she kind of gave me a little bit of our family history of how we even got to Tampa. So I can't remember the year she said, but my great grandparents, my great grandfather to be more specific, and Brian can tell you a little bit about this too. They were always entrepreneurs, and I'm talking deep South Black people with their own money, their own wealth, their own stores. And it got to the point where, this dark skinned man in the South had his own everything, and white people wanted to kill him. So he migrated, him and his family, to Tampa. And to this day, if you there's a certain part of Tampa, they won't tear this church down. It's called Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church. My great grandparents' names are still on there today. So spirituality, when you read my book, you will see that it is weaved throughout like my family, weaved throughout my history, to the point where I ended up getting both degrees, my undergrad and my master's in theology. So I thought that my calling was going to be ministry. I was just going to settle in a church and be happy and fulfilled there, until my life changed. And I noticed that the kind of work that I am called to do exists beyond the four walls of the church, and it exists beyond the Bible as well. I believe that those things are amazing, but they're limited. And I believe that in order to reach the amount of people and who I'm supposed to reach, I have to go beyond those four walls and go beyond the front and back cover of just the Bible. So I do believe that what I study and how I study and what I'm supposed to share is not limited to a label, a title, an entity, or building or anything like that. So my history, again, I grew up and moving between Tampa and South Carolina a lot. So I got a little bit of city, a little bit of country, and I grew up in a lot of different atmospheres. In high school, I ended up graduating from a predominantly white institution, as well as I went to a predominantly white college as well. And I say all those things because look at me, I am a Black woman, I have locks, I embrace who I am. And being a minority within a atmosphere like that can do a lot to you when everything around you is the opposite. You know what I mean? So there's a reason why my book is called Black Girl, Black Ink, because I'm very aware of who I am because the things around me made me aware of that. However, I feel like if the things around me didn't make it so obvious that I was a Black woman, I feel like a lot of the things that I went through, I didn't have to go through. And I can break that down a little bit too. I believe that like when we focus on labels, when we focus on colors, when we focus on Black or white, heaven or hell, Democrat or Republican, red, when we focus so much on these things, it takes away the experience of life. I believe that I exist beyond the color of my skin. That's why I feel like a lot of people invite me into their spaces, whether they look like me or not. They want to hear what I have to say because what I have to say has no limits. Truth doesn't have a color.
I'm
Truth
curious.
doesn't have a, go for it.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your thought, but I'm curious if you let me jump in for a second. You founded Heart Over Hue in what, 2017?
2017, yes.
Okay.
During a time it was unpopular.
Okay. And so the reason why I ask is you talk about your academic upbringing, being in a predominantly white space, and then your ideas and thoughts about race. But I'm kind of curious, what drove you to explore racism through a spiritual lens? And then also, how does this work intersect with your mission of environmental and community wellness today? Because you're a holistic wellness coach as well.
Yes, that's a great question. I believe a lot of the times when it comes to specific words, we limit what that word is. And I think that, again, I break all labels. I'm not your stereotypical social worker. When I show up to people's houses and I have locks and I have tattoos and I have gems in my teeth, I don't know if you can see that. I have gems in my teeth. They're not expecting me to be a social worker.
I
You know what I
see
mean?
this.
They're not
Okay, I got it. Yeah, yeah.
So I never fit anyone's labels. For the Black community, I'm too white. You know what I mean? I sound too white. For the white community, I've never fit anyone's labels.
Okay.
Which is so funny to me. So when it comes to Heart Over Hue, right? There was a point of time I never wanted to talk about racism or discrimination. Like I went to a predominantly white high school. So that's during the times where all the shootings were happening, all the hashtags was a thing. And who do you think they're going to look at for answers?
Yeah.
The Black person in the room.
It's going to be you, right?
So, right. And that's not fair. You know what I mean? Like whatever answers you're looking for, how about you find them? How about you do the work? You know what I mean? Like, why are my tears and what I have to say the only thing around you that gives you access to something that we all have access to? So it wasn't until college that I went to a Christian college, and that matters in this context because when it comes to Christianity, where I was in the community that I was, they did not see racism as their problem. But racism is everyone's problem. So when you begin to look at the book that Christians use, the Bible, it's like, how can you be a Christ follower and not address the issues within your community? So I want to even break that down. There was a point when At a predominantly white institution, right, there are certain themes that always occur. And that is the minorities there are uncomfortable. They don't feel like their home away from home is a home.
Okay.
Why is that? So at these Christian universities, right, there's also chapel that you have to go to or you have to pay out of pocket. Like, it's that strict. You have to go to a certain amount of chapels and this, that, and the third. Remember, I told you I grew up in church.
Right.
So when you go to Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church, you're gonna be clapping, you're gonna be standing, you might see
Right.
some people crying. It's very loud, it's expressive.
There's
When you
emotion.
go to
Yes.
Southeastern University, it's a culture shift. It's a cultural shock for some people, especially if they didn't grow up that way. Now, mind you, I'm very adaptable. I don't care what kind of music it is. I'm a creative. I can get down to it. You know what I mean? But what about the people that can't? Do we adjust? Do we adapt? If this is their home away from home, are we going to consider them? So when you start to have these conversations, it's kind of taboo. It's kind of don't talk about it, things like that. But when you're somebody like me and you sense something's wrong and we are called to be Christ-like and to address, love our neighbor as we love ourselves, all these different things that scripture talks about, why are there people that are uncomfortable in a midst? And it's a people group.
Okay.
So the tricky part about that is every time that the Blacks and African Americans and or islanders on the campus would raise their voice about how to make that home away from home a better place for them, it got shushed. It was a disruption. However, there were Hispanics on campus and they had their own club without anyone saying anything about it. They had their own chapel. They had their own worship album that was funded by the school. So it's like, okay, well, why can whites have this, Hispanics have this, but if we try to start a Black student union, it takes years. It takes pushback. You have professors that are afraid to speak up out of fear of losing their job. You're having professors in secret meetings. You're having this, that, and the third. You're having Blacks not graduating because they finished at Southeastern. Like, we don't see this as a problem.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So at what point? So is this the factor that drove you towards starting this group? Okay.
100%. I remember being in African American literature class, and it was taught by a white man. I would never forget this man. His name is Dr. Cargan. He changed my life. I'm in African American literature, and it was so funny because he saw a spoken word that I did, and I did not want to do that spoken word at all. And it was a spoken word. It was so funny. So I was a part of this group called Speak That on campus, and it was poetry, spoken word, music, rap. Basically, all of the creators would get together. They would host their own events. And there was something called Big Bash that was done once a year. And it was like this big event where all of the creatives come together. They do their own thing. And I was put in a group with 3 Black men. And I was like, oh, I already know what we're going to do our piece on, this, that, and the third. And I remember this guy, he was like, how about we talk about the shootings? And I'm like you want to talk about shootings at a predominantly white institution? I was so afraid.
Are you afraid
Because
because of the controversialness of it? Okay.
That, and I never really explored how I felt about it.
Okay.
Because I avoided it. I always avoided it. So it forced me to face my fears of how I felt about social injustice as a Black woman that grew up in the hood, as a Black woman with a Black father, as a Black woman with Black brothers, with a Black nephew. You know what I mean? Like, people that look like us are literally being shot on camera.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot to bear. I can't save them from this. You know what I mean? Like, there was a statistic at the time that if a Black boy did not know how to read by the time that he was in 3rd grade, most likely he would end up in jail. How do I have a Black nephew.
Okay.
What does that say about him? What does that say about his future? You know what I mean? So it really took a lot for me to sit down and to face my fears. And I am a person that listens to my intuition. I do believe in God. I do believe that God speaks in ways that I perceive it, and manifest through art. And I remember during that time, not only did I write a spoken word, but I was led to do a video. So
this is after you've done the spoken word presentation.
This is before I took the class, African American Literature.
Okay.
So it's a little bit before that. So I did a video, and it was basically a spoken word on social injustice. It talked about police brutality, all of that. And so the video played before we performed the song. So it was a eye opener for the entire campus of like, okay, everybody's doing all these spoken words on things that we already know about, music on things we already know about. Boom, racial injustice at a PWI. Yeah. And not only is it a song, here's a video, because I'm also a videographer, photographer. Okay. I told you I'm all around creative.
Yeah, you've got those multiple hats that you wear. Yes.
Right. So I wrote the spoken word, I directed it, I filmed it, and then that played, and then we went into the song that literally is like, here is a piece of your community that's crying out. What are you going to do about it as a Christ follower? Okay. Like literally, if we're the body of Christ and a part of the body is literally bleeding out and crying out in front of you, what are we going to do about it as a community?
I see that as a visual, thing. It's the way that you've spoken about it.
So how did Heart Over Hue come about? I just created the space. It actually was an accident. Like I did not create Heart Over Hue on purpose. It was an accident. Okay. One day I decided to do a post on Instagram, and it was a photo of me and one of my friends who is white, and we were both in Alabama, and we took a photo on some grass, and I just remember posting like, this is MLK's prophecy. This is MLK's like, we're literally doing what MLK prophesied about. Little white girls, little black boys, like all together having fun, hand in hand, things like that. And I remember I posted it, and I just hashtag Heart Over Hue. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking it was going to birth what it was. I just put Heart Over Hue, maybe see people for their heart, not judge them by their hue. Oh. And within minutes, everybody was hashtagging Heart Over Hue. And I'm like, what just happened? So I remember I was on break. It's like a holiday break or something. And I had a vision of this logo. So I was like, I'm just going to go to the mall and get a hat made. And I got 2 hats made because I'm really big into fashion. I'm really big into just wearing things that I like and creating. Yeah. Okay. And I came back to campus, and everybody was asking me, how much for a hat? How much for a hat? And I'm like, I'm not selling it. It's fine. Like, but the amount of people that I got asking, I was like, hey, I can just give me some money. I can get you one made, but I'm not looking to sell these things. And again, the amount of people that kept asking, I was like, okay, like there's something here.
Okay.
And it went from, can I get a hat to, can I get a shirt? Can I get this? Can I get that? And it was to the point where I wasn't doing anything. People would come to me with things with Heart Over Hue on it. Hey, I made these designs. Do you like any of them? Hey, can I do a photo shoot with your hats? Hey, can I do a website for you? Hey, can I make business? I'm telling you, all I did was be obedient with the vision that I saw.
So this happened organically for you?
Yes. Like I did not intentionally be like, I'm going to start a movement. I literally went to get a hat made, and people saw it. And when I say people, like all kinds of people, it wasn't just Black people, it wasn't just this kind of, it was all kinds of people on campuses. And again, it was people that were too afraid to speak out on it, but if they could wear a hat, that was enough for them. Okay. It was kind of like pushing the envelope softly. So that led to people asking questions. So I like wearing things where people have to ask you about it. So if you ask me, hey, what does your hat mean? I can tell you. You opened the door for it.
Okay.
And now we're here. It's like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this kind of conversation, but here we are.
So you started this in 2017. And now here we are, 2025. And it sounds like you've created a space in which people can have those conversations with you, right? But also it's breaking down that barrier that I was talking about before to start a conversation just simply off of fashion, which is, I find interesting, I find unique. And the way that you pose this means of breaking down those barriers simply by wearing articles that force someone to engage with you is genius in my mind, right? Now, I'm kind of curious about where that fits into this idea of holistic wellness. Because I know
It's a great question.
we've talked about the space in which you have lived in terms of you being, one of one in a white space. And then once you graduated, you've got to navigate the world fully as a full up adult, fully developed. And what you're doing now is you're trying to push your energy out there to facilitate change. So I'm kind of curious how that falls into, this world that you operate in the wholeness and wellness realm.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm the type of person that believes in mind, body, soul, and spirit. One cannot exist with, I don't want to even say that. I believe mind, body, soul, and spirit. I believe in wholeness. I don't believe that you can have wellness without wholeness. I believe if something is imbalanced or off balance, then it's due to something else, right? So if we look at everything like this, like mind, body, soul, like if something's off, you know what I mean? Something else is off. And I also am a believer in you are what you consume, whether that is food, whether that is TikTok, whether that is books, what you are what you consume, and you are, and who you are is your environment is an extension of who you are. So whether you are intentionally doing something in your environment or unintentionally doing something in your environment, something's happening.
Okay.
Whether you're creating the space or you are the problem, like something is going on. So I believe in teaching people awareness. Be aware of who you are so that you can be aware of what is going on around you. When people are not aware of who they are because they're hustling, bustling day to day, this, that, and the third, ripping and running, and they're stressed, and now there's all these chemicals going off in their body, and they're tired, and they're this, and they're angry, you can miss a lot. So I believe in living life breath by breath, slowing down, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your community. A lot of people want to change the world, but they don't want to change themselves. And your world is a byproduct of you. So if you change yourself, you change your world. And it's a domino effect. You don't have to worry about changing the world. Change your community. That is wholeness to me. That is wellness to me. So again, it's beyond what you eat. It's everything that you consume. People think wholeness and wellness is just about the types of food that you eat. No.
Yeah.
Once you understand the types of food that you eat, you will also understand what they're putting in your community. Why you're like, where are all the fast foods?
Yeah.
And then where's Sprouts? Where's Publix? And then you look at the prices. Who shops where?
I've had this conversation before, and I used to study urban renewal in the South, and one of the things that you find is that there are food deserts in urban areas, which is kind of interesting in the fact that, and when I say food deserts, and you can jump in on this, it's the idea that the quality of food that you get in one location is different from the quality of food that you get in another location. And if you look at health and the benefits of eating fresh fruits and vegetables, like you were saying, it does present itself in the way that you see communities, right? So I guess my question is, how do you change that? How do you, through your advocacy, change that, address that?
Yeah. So again, I go back to first being aware myself.
Right.
If I'm not aware, I can't change anything. But once I am made aware, I am the type of person. What did I say? My purpose is to inspire, to encourage. Once I know something, yes, I'm telling everybody, especially if it's good for you, if it's healthy for you. You know what I mean? Like, yes, don't eat that. You know what I mean? But I also do that by just being an example. Sometimes you could tell people something, they don't care.
Yeah.
Or they heard you, but they don't understand. But once you change yourself, people are going to do what? Start looking. So sometimes it's not about telling people, it's about showing people. You show up and you just keep showing up and you create the space.
To this gathering people together, which is what it seems like you're trying to do. How does that interaction within that community, because you've developed a community, how does that interaction free you to have those conversations about everything from health, wellness, racism, environmental issues, things of that nature? And I know you said that you're talking about more than just the mundane, if you will, right? So
Yeah. It's a lot easier than people think, honestly. It is. And I say that because like when you see me, what you get is what you see. Like it's no gimmicks, it's no scam, it's no anything. There's a reason why you want to be in my presence. I don't know what that is. There's something that drew you to me. And so because you have already experienced me in some type of way and it resonated with you, you want to come to my next event. I don't know what it is. I just know that I have a gift of being myself. And there's something about me that resonates with you. But what did I also say earlier? I'm your mirror.
right, right.
So whether you like what I have to say or you don't like what I have to say, I can't take that personal. You sit with that.
Right. There's something that's resonating within whatever the conversations that you're having within these groups. And then what they take away from that is what they take away from it. I understand. I get it. As I want to appreciate you sitting down and having a conversation with me. And I believe I've met my match in terms of someone who actually talks more than I do. But your story is intriguing. I am extremely interested in watching Heart Over Hue grow. And I hope that we can collaborate later as a group, Espresso Unicorn and Heart Over Hue. Once again, thank you for letting me interview you. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Okay.